Welcome back to our show, Back to Basics, a hardwiring in Christ through conversations. This is Fautman. Each week we will discuss topics like marriage, family, communications, etc. through the lens of Christ. Each week you can chime into the conversation by either calling us at 253-584-1480, or you can hit us on the Back to Basics page. If you're a first-time listener, just go to the link www.facebook.com/Back2Basics, KLA 1180 AM. You can find us direct there, or you can search us Back to Basics, back with the number 2 Basics. Before we dive in, I want to give our listeners 2 great places to go within the Puget Sound for fun, or if you're in a bind. The first place that I got to go this weekend was Wheel Funds Rental. This is out in Tacoma and Point Ruston. It's off 5005 Main Street. It's below the Wild Fin Restaurant in Tacoma, Washington, 98407. Again, this is on Main Street, 5005 Main Street, near Point Ruston. This place was off the chain. Got to go over and go rent some bikes. Roughly $33 to my family for an entire of 6 of us to go on. Some of the things they have is a Surly. They have a double Surly, which is like sitting between 4 to 6 people. A Deuce Coupe. It almost looks like a speed bike. You have a Chopper, a Quad Sport, a cruiser bike, a city bike, a tandem bike, kids trailer, tag along, and they also give a 20% discount to the military. So I highly recommend them, and Back to Basics does recommend them. If you can go out, they're open during the week. They are from Saturday to Sunday from 10 a.m. to sunset, March 26th to April, and then as of May, they'll be open 7 days a week, 10 a.m. to sunset. And again, they give a 20% military discount to my military folks. It's just really awesome going on, rent some bikes, have some fun, get the kids with the helmets. My kids were like screaming and like, go faster, go faster. Yeah, that didn't happen with 4 kids and a 150-pound bike and 150 pounds of kids. So definitely, if you get a chance to go down to Point Ruston, go to the Wheel Funds Rental off Main Street, right below the Wild Fin Restaurant. And also, I got into a bind while I was down there, and I broke my phone. And I thought I could get that fixed rather quickly, so I went to Live It Mobile down in the Westfield Capitol Mall down in Olympia, Washington. So if you need your phone fixed, you need cases and whatnot, go down to the Live It Mobile. Check out Emilio Tech. He's the tech director out there. Give them a call at 360-350-1233. They saved my phone, got myself a life-proof case, and now I can take a beating and keep on going. And they did it real fast, like in 35 minutes. So that was just much appreciated, you guys. So Live It Mobile down there at the Westfield Capitol Mall, or hitting up the Wheels Fun rentals to go bike riding. And again, going to Live It Mobile if you need your phone fixed or cases. So lastly, real quick, our marriage giveaway contest is in May. Since we haven't got any votes at all, we're going to go with the Shayless Lodge unless you guys decide. And this is the way the contest is going to go, and we're advertising this for the entire month. We'll do a one-night stay if we get 500 likes. The likes will enter you into the contest. It's only going to be one registration only, so each new like is going to be registered for that. If you're an old like and want to be in the contest, you're going to have to message me. But if you want a 2-night stay, Friday night into Sunday night, plus $100 for the incidental costs and $100 towards childcare or logistical barriers, I'm going to be asking for 1,000 likes during that month. And we'll announce our winner the first week in June. So I hope that you can see the grace that we're trying to give you through information and potential gifts, and let's jump back into the room of grace and visit the reality. Visit this reality to make it our reality. Does anyone recall how we got there? Give us a shout back if you do, 253-584-1480, or again, you can text us at the Back to Basics page. The summary of the room of good intentions and the path of the room of grace. So here's the summary real quick I'm going to give you guys. So the room of good intentions is more right behavior and less wrong behavior equals godliness, which is everything but biblical. So we got exhausted. We exited the room of good intentions. We got to back to the sign of the room, of trusting God and pleasing God. And even though it was exhausting and tiring, we went to the path of trusting God and then entered the room of grace and finally saw freedom in that. So that's at least a summary of that. If you think it's too fast of a summary, go over and check out last week's podcast on our Back to Basics page, but that at least gives you an idea. So now we are back to just seeing the great reality of the room of grace. Where to next? We found out when we dived into faith with God, when we found this out, we dived into faith with God. This is trust. that can please God at the same time. We don't want to go stay into the pleasing God. The pleasing God exhausts us, and God's never going to be pleased. When we trust God, we go over and we please Him, out of Hebrews 11:6. And I'm going to challenge you guys to go look for that, since we have a lot of content to cover in very little time. We definitely want to take your calls in. We definitely want to answer your questions. Most of them will be the Back to Basics page, or calling us at 253-584-1480. So this is the logical path to run. If our sole motivation is to please God, we will exhaust ourselves to never to please Him, and will never learn to trust. It will imprison our hearts. Pleasing just puts us back to doing it all on our own, and then we'll still need salvation. It puts us striving for a distant deity, and it nauseates God, and it's just at best takes the wind out of our sails. Trust pleases Him so much that it's more than any striving that you can do. Trust is the answer. What do you think about this? Give us a shout back at 253-584-1480, or again, hit us at the Back to Basics page. Just text us a response. We'll try to answer it promptly. If not, we'll get back to you on the Back to Basics page. The coolest part, in my opinion, is that pleasing Him is a byproduct of trust. By putting your citizenship in the room of grace, we get the distinct pleasure of pleasing by trusting Him. We get the best of both worlds. He wants us to trust Him, and that absolutely pleases Him. So I'm in the room, and I find a banner on the back wall that says, "Standing with God, sin in front of us, working on it together." Let me say that again. The banner on the back wall says, "Standing with God, sin in front of us, working on it together." Does this resonate with you? You can share your thoughts. Again, 253-584-1480, or hit us on the Back2Basics page. And that's back with the number 2, basics. So this entire thing it just came to me, and as I'm reading this, standing with God, sin in front of us, working out together, I'm thinking that God's just way across initially before in this sin chasm pit, looking in disappointment, hoping I get it right one day, to maybe be close. But in reality, if He's standing with me, He is standing right in front of me on my worst day, smiling bigger and happier than any human I've ever met, because He's God. So we enter back in the room of grace, and I settle in for the night with my loud new friend, encouraging of the great journey, and ushers me a good night. As I take off my shoes from a rough day walking on that path to get into the building, I reflect on the banner and come to an awakening that He loves. He loves me no matter what, knows my sin and me, loves me anyway, and He will patiently wait with me when I'm ready to work on it. He does tell me, though, "That's a lot of sin. Oh, my. Do you sleep at all?" And we both laugh, and He says, "I got you, kid. I've had you before the world began, and my shed blood is that powerful. I got you, kid." Is this a realm for you? Have you lived there? Give us a shout back if you had any thoughts on that. 253-584-1480. And again, you can hit us at the Back to Basics page. The number again is 253-584-1480. So I wake up the next day eating fluffy waffles and bacon thick as a pork chop, excitingly telling my friend the realizations I had last night. And he says, "We all experienced something like that when we got here, and you got a lot more in store. Wouldn't it be great to stay there always?" Some do, actually, and they stay in the magnificent, stunning, life-giving surroundings and the people of this great room. Sadly, some leave the room and travel back and forth from room to room. Others don't even see the choices in their path after they leave the room of good intentions. Others even don't make it back to the fork in the road. You might see people scattered outside the path of pleasing God. Others are in small groups. A few stay on the path for the rest of the journey. How'd they end up there? If you have an answer for us, give us a call back at 253-584-1480. Or again, you can shoot us at the Back to Basics page, and that's back with the number 2, basics. How did they end up there? Well, they became broke, and they have some jaded hearts from the room of good intentions. Their hope was robbed from them, and they maybe became so sick that they can't believe anything can be different. And man-made religions beat them up, and they could be oozing from apathy. They think there is no reason to try. Some of God's more passionate, gifted, and dedicated servants could be sprinkled on this road, despondent. Is this you? Can you relate from the past? Can you relate this from the past? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or you can go over and hit us our Back to Basics page, and that's Back, the number 2, Basics. And again, you don't have to be in Western Washington to give us a call. It's a nationwide number. So if anybody that knows me on the nation, you can give us a shout back at 253-584-1480. So, back to the story. What do these people look like? These wounded people can come in many forms. Some of them are cynical and smug, is one display of it, but it's usually a cover to self-protect from vulnerability. They can be insightful and articulate, but speak from the fringes of reality. And they could be bleeding from having risked their vulnerability, and no one doesn't know what to do with them. And sometimes they get bitter and they lash out from the symptoms at anything that's more than a structured meeting time. They might gather together with like-minded, jaded people and rehearse these wounds. Examples are as they talk about what they don't like, they mistrust of authority, they brag about the freedom from religion while talking about their wounded identity. Have you seen these people before? Is this you? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or you can go text us at the Back to Basics page to go over and see if you've been this person before, have seen this person before. What does this jaded heart do to us and to others if we let nature take its course? Here's some examples. No one matures in bitterness. No one gets free in isolation. No one heals rehashing bad religion testimonies. No one gets to love or to be loved in self-protection. And honestly, self-protection is an oxymoron. So when I was 15 and my brother was 17, he died in a drowning accident. And when that happened, I really became jaded, became broken. I wasn't a Christian at all. I was kind of an atheist. I went to church. And I basically gave God the finger. And I put this self-protection mode and did so many things and put myself in so many different situations just to go fill the void. And started making fun of people, starting hurting a lot of people, self-protection. I became bitter. I became isolated. And I faked it for a very, very long time until Jesus came to me when I was 20 years old and said, hey, you do suck and you do need Jesus. Sometimes a person that's highly dominant needs that. But these hurts are real, and we will never doubt that. Some are so bad it will take someone to help them get to the fork in the road. They need the cure also. This was the first reality of the road in the rooms. The second is not all of them stay in the room of grace once they get there. What did the room of good intentions tell us? Does anybody remember? Give us a shout back, 253-584-1480, or give us a shout back on the Back to Basics page. So, what did the room of good intentions tell us? It told us that self-made excellence made the person. This is a hard lie to swallow when you enter the room of grace. Additionally, we must also learn to accept the yokels that enter fresh each week. From people that are Fortune 500 angry guys to the simple girl to even to the brash, pompous man that hurts people in the room of good intentions. Do you think this would be hard to accept, that you're in a room of grace and you have these type of yokels that are in the room? Give us a shout back at 253-584-1480 or hit us on our Back to Basics page to join the conversation. Each of these people, including yourself, are learning and knowing to trust that you're believing in. Let me restate this. Each of these people, including yourself, are learning to trust in what God calls you, and He's also made you godly. That's a hard thing to soak to believe. So let's soak in that for a minute. That trusting that God's called you is godly. So what does that look like? There's no more working on your sin. Sin doesn't divide you and God anymore. Your Heavenly Father is crazy about you on your worst day. You are Christ in Fautman, or Christ in Michelle, or Christ in William, or Christ in Bob,